For the next 1 hour, we're going to be talking about wealth, planning, legacy planning, wealth transfer. We're going to talk about, getting the best personal banking services anywhere in East and Central Africa, south of the Sahara, north of the Limpopo. And we're joined by Abraham Ongenge. Abraham is you don't know anyone called Abraham, but in this country you stand up. Okoh.
Is it now we are standing?
Yeah. We stood.
Oh yeah, we did. It's true. It's true. We did.
That's why we stood.
That's why we stood up.
We've got Abra K. Now we've got Abra who?
Abra O.
Abraham Ongenge is the head of personal and private banking at Stanbic Bank, Kenya. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, Your Excellency. This is the hot seat of the Situation Room.
I have ambitions to become an excellency at some point.
Yes. This is the platform that launches you. Karibu sana. You'll tell us what's the difference between personal and private banking.
Okay.
You'll tell us. Yeah? And that will be the first question. But no, that will be the second question. The first question will be, what's your interpretation of this proverb? So listen to the proverb. Mm-hmm. The gentleman has been going to where and where? South of the Sahara, north of the Limpopo.
Yes.
Last week we were in the DRC.
Yes. Okay. That's where we were.
Describe the region where we are this week.
This country has very many neighbors. It has a neighbor that has the longest coastline on the continent. It has a neighbor whose name begins with an E. It has a neighbor whose name begins with an S. He has another neighbor whose name begins with a U, another one begins with a T. And then, just to give you a hint, there's a water body on its eastern coast. Which country is this?
Two neighbors whose name begins with S.
Yes.
I think that's 254. That must be Kenya.
Can only be.
It can only be.
That's very good. This gentleman did not waste time in his geography classes. Somebody could have taken us to Egypt. Then would have been wondering how Egypt got into East Africa.
In their mind, anything is possible.
Chui hakumbatiwi.
First of all, what's your translation of that to English?
Okay, so first of all, chui is a leopard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it probably says a leopard cannot be embraced. That's my interpretation, direct interpretation into English.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what do you think that means?
So if I kind of think about the whole chronology, Chui is from the cat family.
Yes.
And it's probably a dangerous cat. So effectively to me it says, don't take yourself to the cleaners. You'll be eaten alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't go around looking for
trouble.
That animal has a bad temper.
Yeah.
Well,
that's how as a human being, that's how I interpret it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the leopard looks at human beings and says, these guys are such busybodies.
yeah, just leave me alone.
Why can't you just leave you alone?
Yeah.
Yeah, leave me alone.
I'm just wondering what my
bothering
business.
you.
Why must you come near me?
I just want to hang out in a tree, eat an antelope here and there.
Yes.
Leave me alone.
Yes.
Oh, come grab your
Goats
dog.
and sheep and dogs. But that is when you've encroached my territory.
Exactly.
You've cut my trees.
If I was in the neighborhood
That would be different.
and your dog starts barking at me, I mean,
I was merely passing by.
yeah. And if I eat that dog, what's the problem? I'm just getting rid of my problems.
It announces
It's
its
your
presence.
problems.
Hey. Okay, that's a good interpretation. So, personal and private banking.
Yeah.
What's personal, what's private? And which part of private is personal?
All right. So there's part of private that's personal, but it also kind of starts to answer two questions. Underlying those two questions is ambition. So personal understands that you are ambitious but you are a beginner. So when you are ambitious, but you are a beginner, come, let's deal with you personally.
One-on-one.
One-on-one.
Okay.
And let's start harnessing your ambitions.
Okay.
Now, private is that you're moving more to kind of meet your life desires. But you still want to be valued. And therefore, we then tell you, let's deal with you privately. Your needs might be a bit unique. So let's deal with you a little bit privately. So personal, let's help you with their ambitions. Private is that you know what you want. Let's deal with you privately because your needs are unique.
How do I qualify as private? Is it the amount of money that I have with me? Is it the watch I'm wearing? Is it the level of my ambition? What is it?
So underlying private is really ambition to do what I would say 4 things. One is that you don't want a bank, but you want banking. So we then say to you, how do we help you bank easily? Second is that you want to plan. So you've created some wealth. You want to plan about that wealth in case you have any uncertainties. So let's actually help you plan wisely. Then we also think that you want to make more. So you want to invest. So we bring in the skill of how you invest skillfully. Then lastly, but not necessarily the least, is that you also want to live. And we then tell you, let's help you live joyfully. So that's really the person we are inviting into private banking. So if you have any of those, if those kind of talk to you, then you qualify to private banking.
I see. So private is more personal than personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Private has a personal element to it.
It's more personal.
You know, everything you say points to my having resources, and not just meager resources, an abundance of resources. What if my resources are not abundant?
Yeah, it leads you to a space where you say growth is important, because everyone would want some extension of your resources. I don't want to call them meager, because every one of us has worked for the resources they have. So we also think about empowerment, and we bring empowerment into the lives of our clients. Now, if you say I have meager resources, so not where I want to be, then we then tell you, how do we partner with you to grow your wealth? How do we ensure that those resources, the 1,000, the 2,000, becomes the 10,000, then the 100,000, then a million? And what that means is that we build it both on education. We build on your firsts, so your first home, your first car, your first piece of property. We then assist you to start building that wealth, so that down the road, it's no longer meager. It's something substantial.
I mean, so even if as we get into some of these things, it's just occurred to me that in order to establish where an individual is by the time they're coming to you, that means that you're going to have some conversations in terms of where they are. So it's got to be that personal touch. So is that what we're saying, that you really are starting the journey where you're having a one-on-one with individuals? I mean, 20 years ago, that never happened with your bank.
Yeah.
You put money in the bank, you do the thing, you get out. Nobody's having a conversation about anything.
Yeah. And banking has actually evolved. And underlying the whole business of banking, if you think about it, is that when you put money into a bank, the simple message you're making is that I trust that institution. So the whole business of banking is actually a business of trust. And what that means is that the person seated on the other side has to be a world-class trusted advisor. And that's why, to help you properly fit into the quadrants of where your journey is at, we've kind of created world-class trusted advisors who then partner with you with your financial journey. Different people are in different phases.
Yeah.
And we have to fit specifically into what is relevant for your own ambitions, but also for the level of resources you have. Yeah.
I guess you have different products for personal banking, for private banking. Maybe you can use that to show us the difference. At what point, when someone comes for personal banking, what kind of accounts do they open? What kind of relationships do they get? When someone comes for private banking, what kind of accounts do they open? What kind of relationships do they get?
Okay. So if I speak about personal banking, you are on the go.
Yeah.
You need value for money. For whatever you earn, you need value for money. So for personal banking, first we have to make sure that you're actually banking easiest. Mm-hmm. So we kind of create digital capabilities for you to be able to transact as quickly as possible, but we reduce the cost to serve. So you don't have to pay that Uber, pay that taxi to get into a branch to be served. You can actually serve on the go. But we also understand you have lending needs, and in some instances, you probably will be in between your revenue streams.
Yeah.
So we offer you short tenor type advances to say, let me bridge you to your next income. We also understand you want to start with your firsts. So you want to own your first home. So what we do is that we then partner with teams that have been able to reduce the cost of home ownership, such as KMRC, to provide affordable housing. Mm-hmm. Interestingly speaking, that product provides housing at rates as low as single digit for people who want home of firsts.
How much is Stanbic offering for the KMRC loans?
9.5% for 25 years, fixed. So regardless of what those rates are going to be at next year, the other year, for 25 years.
Fixed at 9.5.
Fixed at 9.5%. Now, you then move and you say you've been ambitious, you have become successful, you are now moving more into the space where you have created some wealth. You probably have owned your first home, you've owned your first car, but now you're thinking, where would my children get their school fees? How do I plan for my next education? How do I plan for maybe the things I want to pass on to my children going forward? We introduce you to private banking.
Okay.
So we tell you, look, you do need to partner with someone. So personal banking, you'll see yourself doing a lot of those things. So private banking, we say, you can still do the things you are doing while you are in personal banking. But we now attach with you a trusted world-class private banker. And when I talk about this world-class private banker, a lot of investment around their skill. So certified in investments, certified in insurance, certified in retail banking, so that they bring the holistic piece around how do I match your ambitions, your personal values to the financial journey that you have. So in private banking, we introduce you more to a much more connected thinking around your financial journey, and grow you consistently in a manner that's always safe.
Do I have to be a long-term banker with Stanbic to get into private banking?
No.
Can I open a private banking account? What do you call the account?
It's called a private banking account.
Very good. Yeah. Can I open one like just today? I'm listening to this and I'm like, all right, that sounds like something I could do.
Yes, because we also realize that people are in different journeys, and you probably had taken a journey with a certain financial institution somewhere else, you think, yes, I think I like this. Get onto our website, put in your request, and we get back to you with a world-class private banker coming to you and telling you, how do I take you forward from a journey?
Abraham, I think we're living in very interesting times economically, whether we're looking at whether the nation is on a downward spiral or trying to pick up economically. I think it's very interesting that we're having this conversation today because the headline on one of the papers today talks about broke Kenyans are being forced to steal because they don't have. And I'm linking that with some of the things that you're speaking about today. And some of the things that we've been speaking about the last couple of days. We were talking about banking easily, living joyfully, investing skillfully and planning wisely. And if we make a link between a lot of times when we think about saving and investment, the assumption is that I need to have 10 million shillings or that I need to have 5 million or whatever. But the majority of the folks for whom we would say we're going to put something aside, 500 shillings is an uphill task. So how can we do these things from a private banking point of view with very little in terms of resources?
And certainly we run different cycles in economies. This particular one kind of seeming tough in the season where we are in, and that's why our pillar kind of combines these four to say that let's not give up living joyfully, let's not give up banking easily, let's not give up investing skillfully and planning wisely in the whole context. There's a piece around how we think about private banking that enables us combine this. So you've talked about this private banking account. We realize when someone gets into private banking is that you have some income stream, but how do we protect that amount that you have put right from the time go? So the private banking account has an income protect insurance. So what we are saying is that we know right now you have some resources, but how do we put in an income protect? Whether it's a retrenchment cover for those who are salaried or an income protect insurance for those who have income from businesses. Now, that might sound a small amount to it that you are kind of putting in. But think about this season where incomes are not as certain. The income protect insurance comes to you and says, look, we will pay you some certain amount for a certain period of time until you get yourself back up. Now, there's also the piece of the resources are small. So there's a person with the 10 million shillings, there's a person with 1,000 shillings. How do we think about the person with 1,000 shillings and provide a decent return for that amount? So we then introduce investment solutions such as a money market fund that guarantees you, that provides you a return that's almost double digit, very different from what you would get if you had put 1,000 shillings in a savings account. So we kind of give you an alternative to say you have a smaller amount, but how can we enhance your yield depending on where interest rates?
So there is space for somebody who has what we would say is small, but it's huge for others. So
it's huge.
Space.
It's huge, and we appreciate the ambitions of our customers to say, even for that small, let that money work for you.
Abraham, talk a little bit more about the income protect.
Okay.
All right. So introduce it like, you're talking to somebody who's never heard about it. What is it?
All right. So if you open a transacting account, one of the things that institutions will tell you is that there is a service fee.
Yes.
Sometimes our customers would choose to say, we don't want an account that has a service fee. We just want an account that I pay when I use.
Paper use.
Yeah, paper use. There are some who would say, I would want to take a bundled account that has only one fee, then everything else is included in that fee. So for the account that has a bundled fee, we introduce in that bundle fee, so that part of the amount you pay, in that bundle fee, we pay an insurance premium for you. Okay? That insurance premium protects your level of income for a certain period of time.
Okay.
So what happens is that if you receive a consistent income of 100 or 200,000, we guarantee that should that income be lost, so either your business is closed or you are unemployed, okay, that we will continue to pay that amount for a certain period of time, mostly between 6 to 9 months, while you are trying to get yourself up. So that is income protect.
So that amount, if we've determined that my income is 100,000 shillings a month, should I lose that income for the next 6 to 9 months, I will get 100,000 shillings every month.
Every month.
Because of this. So it will be deposited into my account.
It will be deposited into your account.
Right.
But what did you pay to get there?
You paid from a bundled point of view 2,000 shillings. Okay. In that 2,000 shillings, there's a component that's the insurance. That 2,000 shillings also serves other things. It allows you...
So 2,000 is like the monthly...
The monthly...
Bundled charge.
Okay. Oh. But in that charge, we've actually taken some piece and insured your income.
How long have you got to pay this in order for you to then have access to...
So for as long as you have the account, you continue to pay that 2,000 shillings on a monthly basis.
Start this month, lose the job next month, you're sorted?
You're sorted.
Okay.
And you have to have an account. Okay, let me. What sort of account do you need to have in order to enjoy this protection?
So we provide we provide different solutions for our customers. This particular one would require a private banking bundled account. Okay, so that bundled account you need to pay a certain amount that gives you some transactions for free. So ATM transactions, some particular transactions for free, withdrawals, you do some for free. There are some of our customers who would then say, no, we want to pay every time I withdraw an amount, I need to pay. So that's also an option. For this particular one, you have to pay a bundled account. The charge for that account is 2,000 shillings.
Now, bundle account, let me understand. Bundle account means I'll be in private banking.
Yes.
Okay. I want us to talk amounts. What is the minimum amount that I need to have in order to be in private banking, to have a personal, what was it?
A world-class trusted advisor.
Okay. How much money do I need to have to open the account, and do I constantly need to replenish that account with for me to have such an account?
Okay. So for the clients who are within the stream for private banking, we start with clients who have incomes of about 150,000 per month, going up. We then graduate them into incomes of 450,000 a month, going up. If you have more than that, we introduce you to wealth. So if you do have investable assets of $1 million and above.
$1 million what?
$1 million and above. We do have specific solutions for you to assist you manage your wealth. But if you have incomes of 150,000 and above, welcome to private banking.
So what's the difference between the 150K and the 450K?
So the 150, if you look at the nature of a client of 150, you're probably in your firsts. You're probably starting your first. My first home, my first car, my first piece of land. If you are at 450, you're probably doing your second, third. So quite some different need. And actually, if you are in your 450, you're also doing a little bit of travel. So we also want to say, how do we make your experiences the memorable experiences you need to have?
Okay, sounds good. Our conversation with Abraham Ongenge continues, Head of Personal and Private Banking at Stanbic Bank, Kenya, talking about legacy planning, wealth transfer, and exclusive banking solutions. So yeah, we're hearing about the private banking and why you come in and you get all these extras. And also the personal banking where you say, come, we shall help you graduate as you move. There's something that people don't really talk about, and this is about their succession and passing on wealth from you to your dependents, right? And you're big on that as well.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, and we've kind of thought about this, and sometimes it's a conversation that is an exclusive for the old age, and I'm not directing it to someone in this room.
Someone in this room has heard you.
We actually think that wealth and wealth transfer is a conversation that starts right from the Gen Zs to the baby boomers and so on and so forth. And it is the one thing that can help our society grow as an economy. And we've thought about this in two ways. One, we are good at creating it. Second, that we need to protect it. And then third, we need to transfer it, to kind of transfer it into generations to generations. And in making that connection, we then combine financial solutions that cut across that piece. So let's plan to grow your wealth to a space where it's enough to pay school fees for your children. It's enough to ensure that from a medical point of view, you are covered in your old age. Let's protect it to say that in these seasons you would have uncertainties. So let's think about what happens if a breadwinner in your family is no longer able to continue to provide for the family. Let's think about how we then boost the family to continue going forward. And then lastly, let's actually think about how that transfer looks like, but by ensuring that there is an orderly thought process in how that transfer is done. And the orderly thought process would also include education for the people who are receiving, because a lot of generations find it difficult when you want to transfer, but the person you're transferring to is not ready to receive. So let's put in some financial literacy right from the child to a senior person to ensure that that transfer is happening orderly. And we do partner with several of our areas of expertise around how do you think about your will? How do you optimize tax for the wealth that you that you have? How would we deal the complexities around making your wealth earn more? And what is the right mix depending on where you are in your season between being asset rich and being liquidity rich?
Is it ever too late to begin to put away the 1,000 shillings or the 5,000 shillings or the 10,000 shillings upon the realization that actually, oh, you know what, I can do something? Somebody comes to you and says, look, Abraham, I have nothing. And you know that there's some resources, but they say, okay, look, maybe it's too late in the game. What do you advise?
Yeah. I think the Japanese always say the best time to plant a tree is now if you missed yesterday. So it's never too late. It's never too late to start. But it's always important that you think about how do you obtain advice and help? Who's that trusted advisor? Because in different seasons, given different seasons, you probably want to have the trusted advisor to help you understand what's the right way to approach this. Normally, you've seen spaces where when people become asset rich, so we have a lot of land you have a lot of property, but when you are sick, you are asking for help because you don't have liquidity to deal with that situation. How do we ensure that we balance that mix for you? And that's where our trusted advisors come in, to ensure that we actually protect the fact that in different seasons you are able to manage your circumstances of life, but also your values. Some of these things is to protect the dignity of your values as a person, to say, I don't want to be dependent to my children when I'm aged. You're protecting your value there, and how do we help you protect that value?
You know, bottom line is, as a bank, you're in business, and you have a responsibility to share your shareholders that you've got to announce good results and therefore be able to announce a dividend every year. So the people who are working in this institution are basically working to make sure that they give a return to their shareholder. Now, even this world-class trusted advisor has a target. And the target is to make sure that money comes in and that money is then making sense, so that in the end, the bottom line works, right? So how do I trust this person when they're giving me all this information, that they're not actually just telling me because they're looking at their targets and they're like, oh my goodness, I have X to meet and Eric is here, so let me see if I can actually use Eric to meet my target. How do I trust this person?
It's a healthy and natural tension to have in any what I would call any society that's capitalists, and Kenya is a capitalist society. But it always rests towards how we interpret why we exist as organizations. As Stanbic, we've interpreted that our own existence as an organization is to drive Kenya's growth. And we therefore correlate our targets into that main objective of driving Kenya's growth. If you then go closer into personal and private banking, so then the target of anyone within the team of personal private banking is to grow individual growth. So we then put in our targets into probably three main pillars. One, that we will transform the experiences of our clients. What that means is that part of the targets we put is a question we ask out of the world-class trusted advisor. How did you transform the experiences of your clients? Because clients pay for value. And if we can register that value and we can show that value, then you then earn the return because you've transformed the experience of the client. The second, how do you execute excellently? And execute excellently is to mean that every time we look to optimize and to look at ways in which we can reduce our cost to serve, because it translates back to the value to our client. Then third is what you've just said. How do we also continue to deliver sustainable returns for our stakeholders? Now, when you translate targets to the team that correlates to winning for our clients, then you get a win-win approach to this.
If your client wins, then obviously the institution wins, then the shareholder gets something out of it. So you've said that this thing about legacy planning should not be an issue about planning for retirement. It's planning for tomorrow.
Yes.
Because you don't know about tomorrow, right? Tomorrow could be anything. And you said it begins from you start from the person who comes and opens an account, however young they are, that's 18 and above. You start that legacy planning conversation with them at that point. Okay. So let's talk to somebody who is, let's say, in their 30s now.
Okay.
Right? Whatever kind of income bracket they're in. They could be in the below 150, the 150s and above, the 450s and above, right? But maybe they have a family, young family. Maybe they don't have a family yet, but they are about to, and all. So what is it that you tell them?
So the one thing about a person who's at 30s is that you are what we would call economically active. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you're economically active, the risk return situation is slightly different because you are able to take more risk. Okay, but also more risk means you are able to accommodate quite high returns. So for that particular type of persona, we then invite them to a position of how can you make your money work for you more, but how can we also protect the fact that this money can be lost tomorrow? So how do you, in a way, pack something out for protection, but also how do we encourage you to take more risk? So for that customer, we present to you a piece around start building your home for tomorrow. Okay, so we present to you mortgage solutions as an example. Okay, you may require to be economically active, so there are some assets which you would probably call them seen assets. So you need a car to move yourself here and there, but think about it in the form of you need it to enable you make more. So how do we make sure that we give you the appropriate source of mobility in that space?
What does that mean?
So how do we get you a vehicle and asset finance?
Okay.
To say, why don't you pay rent to get this car? Because vehicle and asset finance is really rent for some time for that car which you eventually own, and it has a residual value.
Why do you call it a seen asset?
Because at the end of the day, it's an asset that loses value. At the end of the day, it's an asset that loses value. Experience kind of says...
Are there assets that never lose value?
They are assets that probably protect value better. Maybe not lose value, protect value better. You know, the way they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The value of the asset is dependent on the demand of the person who needs it. So, for example, a house in a certain location might lose value, but in a different location, it might come in at a premium. But it's still a house.
Yeah.
It's still a house. So for that...
So you offer those kind of asset financing?
Yeah.
For mobility purposes. We call
For
it
mobility purposes.
Because what you're doing is just you need to move from here to there and for that convenience. And that's why we are helping you to do that. But also telling this person, just remember, this thing is not really... So don't go for a 10 million shilling car really at this particular point if your income is at this level, because you'd use some of that money better if you invested in this other area. Okay.
Yeah.
So that advice is coming.
Yeah.
And now, how strongly do you actually put out that advice?
We put it strongly in some cases. In some cases, we are strong enough to tell our clients that the solution you're seeking for is inappropriate for how we have assessed you. So in some cases, we actually do say no to clients when clients come and say, I need this money to buy this. We kind of tell, given your income stream, given some of the risks we are seeing, we don't think that's an appropriate decision for you. We would probably serve you differently in a different way. Because that's the element where we then elevate the piece around trusted advisor. That trust means also we balance your ambition and moderate it with the truths, given what we've seen.
You know, before you come in, I know you have a question. One of the things that will have to happen here is that there's got to be mutual trust.
Yeah.
I have to come and open myself up to you clearly and tell you about my life. So I've got these kids, I've got these other kids who are not known, but I'll tell you about them so you can help us pay all these kind of things. And these are my dreams and ambitions. This is what I need. I have this black tax. I've got this family that I'm supporting here, and this is what I'm hoping to do. So that then with that clear picture, then you advise me appropriately. But you see, that's not something that people are willing to give willingly in terms of just telling you the clear picture. I'll come and tell you I want to buy a car or I want to buy a house. And you're like, boss, okay, this house here, why do you need to buy a house? I'll not tell you exactly why I want to buy that house. But you could just look and see there's something else. So how do you get me to open up to you so that you can then advise me better.
Okay, and I think the thing we respect as an organization is that we respect the need to ensure the highest level of confidentiality for our clients. But it's also interesting what numbers can tell you when you bank, when you have a relationship with a person. There is a lot we have built within our organization around understanding how you transact and building insights as to the things, the right questions we can ask for your reflection without necessarily you having to say, okay, let me tell you a story of how this transaction comes through. We can get a view to say, we see you transacting a lot in this area. We see you traveling a lot, and we are concerned that you may not have insurance. We see you in a golf shop. Can we give you access to golf courses out of the country? We see you paying school fees, and we see it was delayed. It is something that we can help you on. So to some extent, once we also use what you do with us to make it more sensible to you, we then start creating the trust, and this is where technology then comes in.
So then I guess it's great because it's good that question came before, because then even in the private banking, because you talked about essentially transition. So by the time you're talking about wealth growth for somebody, they're not at the place where they need to save something because they've already done that. They're not at the place where they need to be thinking about, the dailies because they've already done that. So you're getting to a place of transition by the time you're talking about, okay, well, we can see that you have a significant, wealth package. Let's now see how we can grow that. How then do you as the trusted world-class advisor say, okay, CT, we can see that you've got the 127 million now. Let's talk about how you can now make more of it and how then, or do you just keep watching? Or do you see the habits? Or what do you do to say that, okay, we know that now you're at a place of transition, you can now move to the next. And it doesn't have to be at that place. How do you know that somebody has now said, okay, well, I've got the 1,000 shillings and I've saved it consistently for every month and I've grown it at, what was it, 11%, 12%? I've grown it consistently. How would you then look at this person, Ndu, and say, okay, well, all right, you're okay now. Let's move to the next.
Yeah. And it's a piece around why we then plug in relationship management, and sometimes digitization has to complement relationship management. How we plug in relationship management allows us to have consistent conversations. So the element of trusted advisor is not an element of there is a person watching a screen just looking at what you're doing.
She took out 1,000 shillings.
Took 1,000 shillings. It's an element of, can we have coffee? Okay. How are you doing? What are you concerned? We have seen SHA coming through. How has this affected your disposable income? What do we see going forward? How do you adjust to this? And sometimes those conversations are really ideas on the table, not necessarily something you need to act on at the moment, but things that we put in place to say, this is what we are seeing, this is what typical people within your environment are making calls on. If you need help, would come back to you. So it's actually, how we do it is actually continuous conversation.
It's a lot of conversations, though. You can imagine, just to say it's 1,000 people, and I'm sure that there are many more. Are we talking about a deliberate conversation with each of these individuals at intervals that make sense? It's a lot of work, isn't it?
Quite deliberate, though.
Yeah.
Quite deliberate, though. And that's where digitization comes in. Okay? Digitization comes in to enable us have the right meaningful conversation with you. Let me take a simple example. It's your birthday. Okay? So the conversation of birthday may not be a conversation that would be the same for all our customers, but it can be a unique day for you where you're saying, oh, it's my birthday. Your birthday is coming in the next 10 days. Then we call you and say, you know your birthday is coming in the next 10 days. Are you planning a travel?
Mm-hmm.
Can we interest you in some discounts in Dubai where you're going for your birthday? So those conversations are curated for specific instances for you as a client.
CT's wondering why you didn't call him on his birthday and take him to Dubai.
No, my account has been dormant for God knows how long. So it's understandable. That account has to be active for all these wonderful things to happen.
Yeah.
Yes. And that bit I know.
Yeah.
So there's some cards that you offer to your personal banking clients. Tell us about those cards and what benefits they come
What is it?
with.
Cars.
Cards.
So we've partnered with MasterCard to offer 2 cards, and the reason why we thought this partnership is important is that it correlates quite well with our value proposition. Our value proposition on the space around living joyfully. And MasterCard and ourselves curated a proposition that said we require to offer our customers exceptional travel experience. We need to give them a peace of mind. Then we need to provide them with lifestyle solutions. So for the first time in East Africa, we are offering a metallic MasterCard World Elite card.
Metallic?
Now, metallic.
Okay.
So, and I don't know.
Why metallic?
It has a different aura to this. And the first time I got this card.
Is that the one you're holding?
That's the card. Okay.
World Elite card. But yes,
World Elite card.
It just looks like
metal.
just looks like I am money.
So if you've ever had these other cards and you happen to drop this card somewhere, you'll feel a different jingle. It introduces you as a person.
Kabesa.
It introduces you as a person. Now,
I'm giving you back your card.
okay, and you
Pass it along. Yeah, that's metal.
Okay, so
real metal, but it's not only a piece of metal.
It's not the material.
Yeah, it's not the material. It also introduces you to benefits that are probably unmatched. Think about launch access. It gives you a launch access +1. Many more cards do not give you launch access +1.
What on earth is launch access?
So if you are in the airport, you need to access the private lounge. Buy this card, you're able to get in there.
+1.
+1.
Very good.
So City gets Eric to join. It also gives you concierge services.
Can I have something
Sitting ngoja siku. Wacha kuharibu story.
It gives you concierge services. In this card, you also get discounts if you want to go for education. So we have partnered with some education companies that provide university education at discounts. It gives you access to golf courses. Some of those golf courses, about 8 of them, in Kenya. So a wide range.
Beautiful card. Second card?
The second is the World card, the MasterCard World. That is not metallic. That's plastic, but will steal some very good benefits into it. Peace of mind, lifestyle experiences, but also travel.
Living joyfully.
Living joyfully.
How does one open an account with Stanbic?
So we have a digital way of opening an account. Go into any of our handles. In our website, you will have a piece there that says private banking. Start your journey today. You click on it and you introduce yourself to the world of Stanbic Bank Private.
Okay. Very well done. Agola and Collins, they say you have sold it very well.
Okay.
They appreciate it. Abraham Ongenge is the head of personal and private banking at Stanbic Bank, Kenya.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.